All right, here we go, yo. Fantastic. Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here. It is Wednesday, the 21st of January, and we are here for one of the first live sessions of 2026 and the first deliverable for the Season 5 US Cyber Games Pipeline Program athletes, and that is our Ethics in Cyber workshop. And we are thrilled to have a couple of guests here with us tonight to help deliver some really important content. As we get into tonight, what you can expect will be a breakout room session about halfway through that will follow a fireside chat. And finally, we'll close things out with a debrief and some Q&A and some great conversation coming back together in the main room. So to kind of set the stage for tonight, I did want to pass things over to Commissioner Jessica Gulick. Jessica, do you want to come say hi and kick this off?
Absolutely. Good evening, Pipeline and team athletes. We really appreciate you showing up tonight for tonight's session. It's going to be a lot of fun. As Brad said, we've got a great talk and we have some scenario planning so you guys can play as well. So that I don't forget, I'm going to say it now and I'll say it at the end of my remarks. Tonight is no judgment zone, okay? Thing about ethics is you need to have a safe place to ask any stupid question you have, present any ideas you have, even if they seem unethical, right? This is the place to practice, just like everything else we do. So I want you to know we're not judging you tonight. Feel free to speak up, particularly during the sessions when you guys are scenario, try different perspectives. The only way you're going to learn is if you apply yourself. Now, let me first say that over the past 25 years or so that I've been in this space, I've seen firsthand the incredible potential and the immense responsibility that cybersecurity professionals have. Mastering the art and science of ethical hacking is not easy, and it is a career path that you have chosen to take. Look around you. You are all the vanguard. You guys are the edge of innovation. You are cognitive athletes that possess a very unique skill set that is our nation's challenge solvers, our digital defenders, our innovators. The training you are about to undertake tonight, this focus on ethics, is perhaps the most critical component of the pipeline because it should stay with you throughout your career. At this pivotal stage in your careers, you're transitioning from academia to a professional practice. Many of you are finding your first job, or you're starting to take on an internship or an apprenticeship, and you're recognizing that you have all this technical capability. And what we need you to recognize is you also have a corresponding moral foundation that you need to start to establish. The lines in cyberspace are often blurry, not just because you hack and you have games, but just because of the nature of the business that we're in. It is not easy. Not a single person I know in cybersecurity finds it an easy place to have clear ethics, understanding 100% of the time. The temptations are real because you get frustrated because things are easier to do certain ways, because you know how to break things or how to circumvent things. And so the potential is also as real, whether on national security, corporate integrity, your own individual privacy, or your sportsmanship or our team reputation. All of it can be very burdensome and very enormous on your shoulders at this time. As a prospective athlete or a current team athlete, your involvement blends enjoyable gaming with professional networking. What I'm trying to tell you is that even when you're on Discord or you're at DEF CON or you're at Black Hat, or at District Con, everything you say and do could have an impact on your career. I don't want to scare you. I just want you aware. We all make mistakes, so it's not something that should hold you back, but it's something that you need to realize that you're part of a team now here at the US Cyber Games. And so what you do out there, what you say has an impact on us. Doesn't mean you're always representing us, but when you cross that line, people start to wonder about our program, about the US team. And so we need you to think carefully about the decisions that you're going to be asked to be made over the next couple of years. We represent the US on a global scale. So when we travel or we compete with other teams, they see us as the USA team. I cannot stipulate that enough. We represent Americans to them. As such, it's critical that all athletes, coaches, mentors, and staff represent the best of what and who Americans are throughout all the shared communities. Whether it's digital spaces, in-person competitions, whatever it is. Specifically when you make public statements or actions that carry significant weight, think about them carefully before you do and say, you know, am I representing the team the way the team wants to be represented? Ethical choices that you make on a daily basis build your personal reputation, particularly in cyberspace. And the reason is because we deal in trust of data, trust of relationships, trust of access. It's all about trust. We recognize that with developing technical skills in a field like we're in comes with an increased level of responsibility of knowing when, why, and how to use those skills ethically. Mistakes can bring consequences. We expect the diligence when it comes to making decisions that protect your future, the U.S. Cyber Games team, program, and the organizations that you represent, whether it's schools, companies, associations. When choices are made or you have a realization that you could have made a better choice, the sooner you bring it to us, the better, because we can help. We're all here to help. We all have been there. I've been young once. It happened a couple of times. But my point is that we all make decisions and we do the best we can. We're human, all right? Nobody's asking you to be perfect. But when you overstep that line or you're like, whoops, get some help. Don't be afraid to just say, yeah, so it's important. Like creating, and I think they're going to talk about this today, a personal ethical compass or an ethical mantra, if you will, a guiding statement is valuable to you. And right now is when you start to build it. You see, a technical manual can teach you how to execute a penetration test, but an ethics compass will tell you why and how far to go with that pen test. And that's important. This compass is not static. It's not something you're going to say, this is what I'm live and breathe by every single day for the rest of my life. It is actually a dynamic set of principles that you will learn and you'll continue to forge throughout your career and as you get the bruises on your knees, just, you know, leading your life. But it's imperative to have something to guide you whenever you get those major dilemmas. So whether it's when you need to report something or how to handle something or where the boundaries lie between curiosity and compromise, curiosity and hacking, having that compass is going to be able to really give you the confidence in making the decisions that you need to make when you need to make them. So commit yourself tonight to this training. Ask the difficult questions. Build the compass rooted in integrity, transparency, and a relentless dedication to good sportsmanship and professionalism. Get out of tonight what you put into it. How many times I have to say that in how many different meetings? Get out of tonight what you put into it. Help your fellow athletes do the same. Again, tonight's meeting, I know we're recording it. We're not going to broadcast it. This is a no judgment presentation. When we get to the end, we're doing scenarios in the breakout rooms that's not recorded. Have an open conversation. I want to reiterate tonight a huge thank you to the speakers tonight. This is a very big thing for us. It's very important. Ethics is at the heart of what we do. We have spent a lot of time with Yvette and Lance and Nathan, probably more so than we typically do on a workshop like this. They have been with us and they have prepared for tonight. So please give them the respect and honor they are due out. Thank you all and good luck tonight. Have some fun. Let's learn lots.
All right. I think that might be my cue there to take over from Jess. I'm going to go ahead and steal the thunder here.
Yeah,
sorry,
Nathan,
Brad.
over to you. Thanks for stepping in.
Appreciate it and pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be in front of everybody and happy to see some faces out there with cameras coming on and whatnot. I am Nathan Ord. I am a former Pipeline member. I've been involved with the U.S. Cyber Games program for good grief, probably going on 4 or 5 years at this point. I've been around the block or two at this point, and now I'm in the industry doing red team engagements for different places, different people. I'm based out of the Baltimore, D.C. area. But that's enough about me. I want to get into the meat and potatoes of what we have tonight. So it is going to be structured as a fireside chat. So what that means is we're going to have a couple questions just to get things going. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat on the right-hand side of my screen here. So if you have any questions, feel free to dump them in there, and I will throw them into the conversation as we're going. But I think that kind of sets out the ground rules of what we're up to. Let's introduce our incredible guests that we have. First up, we have Dr. Yvette Burton from Georgetown. I can't do your resume justice. I can't do your online presence justice. So if you don't mind, go ahead and just introducing yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're about, and all that.
Thank you, Nathan. Hi, everyone. I am really glad to be with this group because people with your skill sets are exactly who I see moving into high impact roles. You use the high pressure competitions and where your performance is visible, ranking scoreboards, all the things, clear results. In my world, it's a different kind of scoreboard. I help decide who gets the clearances, who's trusted with the most sensitive systems and clients, who gets the early promotion or the invitation only role, or often the gap between two people is really not technical skill. It's what they did in one messy, gray, high pressure situation. And my work sits squarely at that decision point. So I'm in governance, risk, and information security leader. I work with defense contractors, research institutions, tech companies, and help them decide who they can safely trust with critical systems and sensitive data. I also design internships, apprenticeships, early career. I sit in meetings where leaders look at people like you and ask, do we give this person access? Do we keep them? Do we move them on to the most important projects? And very often the answer is based on how that person handled a few gray moments when the rules were not completely clear. And so people in your seat sometimes default to what gets me the flag or the credit. The edge case, the rare path is the person who can feel that same pressure, still choose that behavior that fits the full situation, the client, the company, your future clearance, and most importantly, your teammates' trust. And that's a rare choice. And I have no doubt that their future leaders in this room and good players will rise to that occasion. And so tonight, I hope to share what I've seen and learned about lead effectiveness in those moments and how well your behavior fits the situation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We greatly appreciate and look forward to your insights. Now, over to our next guest as well, Lance Spitzner of SANS. It is an absolute pleasure to have you out. And again, I can't do your resume justice either with what, 25 years in the industry plus, right? Something ridiculous.
Yeah, now I'm feeling old. Hey, folks, just real quick, excited to be here, excited to be working with you. In many ways, you are the future of the country. So anything we can do to help you succeed, I'm all for. Just real quick, I've been, like mentioned, I think 25, 30 years. I started on the technical side, mostly self-taught. That's all we had 30 years ago. Did a lot of work with honeypots, honeynets, honeynet project, assessments, pen testing. Well, back then you kind of did everything. And about 10, 15 years ago, I shifted to the human side. So I have that both technical background, but also human side. And now I am an instructor with the SANS Institute.
Outstanding. Love it so much. We have quite a bit of experience between you both, and you know it's invaluable to these students, these people here. As somebody who's in cybersecurity, we can't underestimate the value that people bring with this experience, and it's going to be exciting to have these chats. And so I guess let's go ahead and open things up first, and kind of, I guess, level set a little bit. Like we talk about ethics, we talk about morals, we talk about all these different things, but that might mean something different to everybody. So I'm going to open this up to the panel floor here of how would you define, how would you explain ethics and morals to somebody who is talking to you? Maybe not necessarily in the context of cybersecurity, but more generally broadly. And whoever wants to go for this one.
Oh, well,
Go
good
ahead.
question. It's similar to what Jessica said earlier. You know, morals are what you know is right, and ethics is what you do, even when it costs you. So your moral, your internal sense of right and wrong. Ethics is how you act, that sense when rules, pressure, and other people are involved. And I sit a lot of time on the talent team where although that sounds like a really squishy thing, we have a very quantitative way and outcome way of looking at to what degree does your ethics align or is reflected in your behavior and your decisions, not just what you articulate them to be. So that would be my working definition of morals and ethics. Lance, what say you?
I very well aligned in very much ethics and trust go hand in hand. And we're going to be talking a lot about that because by exhibiting ethics or ethical path, people are really going to trust you. And trust is really your reputation. So we'll be talking more about that later, but I like that. Values aligns to trust, ethics aligns to trust aligns to your reputation, and reputation aligns with ultimately your success in the future.
Love that. Love that. Love both of those answers. And I think when we think about these, it's important to kind of, set that in the back for a second and then look at how this relates to cybersecurity. So let's kind of dig into that a little bit. What does ethical responsibility look like when it comes to cybersecurity? I guess long and short there.
So, I mean, oh, go ahead, Lance.
That was good. Ladies first.
So, I at the highest level, and I really relate to this pipeline and folks of your caliber really being the national brain trust. And in cybersecurity, when I think of ethics and where responsibility lies, we're responsible to people, the organization, your future self, and the country. And so I also happen to be an information security assessor for the Department of Defense. And my role and my mission is to make sure that our nation is secure through security in our supply chain. And so I see when it comes to cybersecurity and ethical responsibility, my commitment is to people to protect their safety, their privacy, their trust, to the organizations I work with and support to follow law, policy, and mission. And because I've worked a lifetime on my personal brand, I hold that dear. It takes a lifetime to build a personal brand and a second to lose it. And so for me, it's something that I work with every day. It's not a set it and forget it, but a way of working and a way of engaging with those people that have entrusted you.
Lance, did you have anything to add on that?
I liked what she said, and I noticed there was a question that while Yvette was talking that really piqued my interest in how do we measure ethics and trust? Is that something we could follow up on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you see something, jump on it.
Folks, keep the questions coming. And trust is something that can be hard to quantify. I've never been in an organization where people said, we trust you. It's one of those, or they give you, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do we trust you? And what's interesting is it's very easy to quantify your skills. And that's the first thing people are going to see. But what ends up happening is the trust issue is a little bit harder, because that is ultimately people's attitudes, perceptions, and beliefs. So they're going to go, do I trust you to have the skills? And obviously you already have it. Do I trust you to use those skills for good in the right way? That's a little bit more nebulous, but that's also going to really track your future. For example, at the SANS Institute, it's really hard to become an instructor. You really have to know your stuff. A lot of people at the SANS Institute, they didn't write the book. They taught the people who wrote the book. But one of the key things is we have highly skilled individuals who want to be instructors, but sometimes those ethics, that trust comes into question. And when we debate that and go, could they be a SANS instructor? There's not a numerical value that we go, oh, on a scale of 1 to 5, they're only a 2, so we wouldn't onboard them. But quite often, well, in the past, we saw them in this situation and they did this, and that probably wasn't the wisest decision. Or they did that, and that probably wasn't the wisest decision. So what happens is you're implicitly developing a trust score, your reputation, every time you take a certain action. And is it ethical or not ethical? So what's amazing is you have the skills. Everybody's going to know that. You don't even have to demonstrate it. Just by talking to you, they're going to know that you're going to have the skills. Over time, what's going to be key is that reputation. And your reputation is really how people trust you. That was probably a little vague. I don't know, Yvette. I'm hoping you can step up and quantify that a little bit.
Oh no, we're brutally honest and incredibly accurate. So from the talent side, you could imagine organizations that have to make real decisions about real people to do real work. And you'll appreciate this because of the talent that you have, the power of pattern recognition. So organizations tend to look at your effectiveness in this space as how well your behavior fits a given situation. So even as you go through the scenarios tonight, think about what's the situation, what's the right behavior in this situation, and what would be the effect of that. And so and I love Lance's point about extending trust, because, trust is extended and it's withdrawn based on patterns that we see. And those patterns are observations from your teams and observations from your manager. And you don't know, you may not be cognizant of when this data on your personal brand, on your effectiveness in these situations. But if you think about it, and you're thinking about what is a behavior that's going to deplete the trust I have, given how you've shown up in a certain situation, how might that be a reflection of your trustworthiness? And like was said earlier, trust is the currency. Trust with brand, trust with access. And I've been in the room where there's been reviews about pipelines or a person or a team, and you'd be pretty taken aback about the nature and the impact of how these instances, these moments, can corrode a whole career or lifetime. And I've seen it at early career, at the intern level, and certainly there's a fair pipeline of senior executives that have fall into the same fate. So it's not a set it and forget it. It is truly a constant way of, making it a structured piece of how you think about developing and advancing your career.
So you kind of touched on this too, and something I wanted to talk about as well is, is this a constant assessment thing, or is this something that you check in with regularly, or is it kind of a bit of both? Like, how are you going about this on a day-to-day, especially as someone who might not have that, routine down exactly?
Yeah.
And that could be for either of you as well.
I'll just say real quick, it's almost like a little counter, and you're always either adding to or removing your brand. So trust, reputation, brand, it's all the same thing, and it's always being built. Sometimes there's a big event and that's going to move your brand really big one way or another. Other times it's little increments day by day. So there is no precise process. There is no precise quantification, but we all deal with this intuitively, kind of like culture. We all know it. It can just be hard to define. And at some point, I'm going to share some stories of where people did the right thing, built their brand, built their reputation, and two of them are now retired because people trusted them and their brand was the key to their success.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know at the university levels, I've developed programs for Columbia. The Ivy Leagues talk, the technical programs talk, the defense contractors talk to each other. So and especially in a close, it's a very close circuit of people that operate at the levels at which you are playing and the tables that the levels that you will ascend. And so demonstrating good trust hygiene. So if how do you fix a failure? Own it, help repair it, and then change a pattern, because organizations are looking at patterns where your espoused values point in one direction and your actions are working counter to that. And if enough people kind of co-sign that there's been discrepancies in those two things, then they are not going to, with every decision they make to bring you into the organization, to put you on a project, they are putting their own brand on the line.
Love that. And I think we're also jumping a bit ahead too on different things with the fixing it piece. I want to also dive into like some of the ramifications, the concerns that we have with ethical conundrums that we might be presented with, looking at like your long-term life. And we kind of touched on this already as well, again, with those close circles of people. But I figured, Lance, would you be able to poke at maybe like what that long-term component looks like of like how this can affect you?
So the whole idea of ethics and trust and how it impacts you long term.
Yeah. What are the ramifications here? What are the stakes, I guess?
Yep. Sounds good. And I noticed some people are asking about clearances. So I don't have a clearance. I haven't gone through that process. Partly I did it on purpose because I travel internationally so extensively for my work. I could probably never get a clearance. So Yvette, I'm going to let you handle the clearance question. But the long term, and we'll share a story here, one or two stories, is you folks have skills. There is no doubt about it. You're some of the best in the world and you're about to get better. But one of the things I've learned is once you start achieving your level, you're going to start running or bumping into people with the same skills. And what really gives you the opportunities, such as that amazing opportunity with the NSA, doing work nobody else gets to do, or the chance to work in a startup and do work that nobody else gets to do. Yes, the skills are what gets you noticed, but it's your reputation that gets you the job. Because yes, you have the skills, but so do 5 other people. You might be the best at X, but somebody else is the best at Y, and somebody else is the best at Z. So there's going to be 3, 5, 10 people all competing for this amazing role with the NSA, CIA, the other agencies you may not know about yet, and or that amazing startup, that AI startup. And it's not just your skills, but can they trust you? So here is just one of several stories. Friend of mine, Ryan McGee. And what happened to Ryan many years ago, this is about 20 years ago, is he was really good with web applications. And there was this new online website that all of his friends were talking about and trying out. So he went to this website to try it out, and he quickly discovered an online vulnerability. Now, instead of exploiting it and trying to get into it and things like that, he just reached out to them and said, hey, folks, you have a bug. And he explained it. And then he explained how to fix it. And they were really, really appreciated. And then he happened to find over a week or two, another one and another one and another one. And every time he would let them know, I found this. This is how you fix it. Things like that. Well, about 2 to 3 weeks in, he found an exploit that was really hard to fix. And they said, and they tried to fix it. He explained it and he tried to fix it. And at some point they gave up and they trusted him. So they literally said, you know what? We're going to give you admin, go into our site, fix it, and then we'll really appreciate it. So he went in, they gave him admin because they trusted him, and he fixed the vulnerability. This little company that nobody heard of at this time was called Facebook. Because he demonstrated not only skill, but that he could trust them, he was the very first security hire ever at Facebook. And they paid him in stock. And 5-10 later, Ryan's like, I'm out, because he had accumulated so much in stock and things like that. So the opportunity, the skill is what got him noticed. The trust is what got him in, and the opportunity, and it's all this story, it's all history from there. But the whole idea, like I said, the skills will get you noticed. The trust, the brand, the reputation, the ethics is what's going to get you through the door and really give you those opportunities, especially as you get higher and higher.
That's incredible. You don't hear stories like that.
I just know Andrew asked, what about where you report and then the company gets mad at you or threatens to sue? So does that hurt your reputation? Absolutely not, if you've done it the right way. So where things go bad is if you reach out to an organization and say, I found a bug, and they don't reply in a day or two, and within like 48 hours, you release the exploit. Well, you've really put them in a bad situation. So what ends up happening is there are a lot of different processes and companies where you can say, hey, I found a bug. And if they respond unethically, as long as you continue to do the right thing, you're building your reputation. In fact, you're building it more, because when they behave irresponsibly, but you continue to behave responsibly, you're demonstrating a huge set of ethics and building your brand.
Well said.
Yes, absolutely. I want to take that concept and kind of translate it over to maybe closer to a DoD business mindset with Yvette, of the whistleblowing concept, if you want to touch on that a little bit. And like, how are we assessing situations to say, hey, I need to call this out, or, I need to look at this and say, okay, let's step back. This is kind of crossing a line here.
A line. Yeah, the excellent question. So the work that I do for the Department of Defense requires that I have access to our supply chain's most sensitive information. And when I conduct an audit as an assessor, I am attesting on behalf of the Department of Defense that this supplier has practices that are safe. And so in order to do that work, just connecting it to our previous conversation, I had to have, I have my secret clearance. And in order to get your secret clearance, you have to fill out information on the last 10 years of your criminal history, your financial history, your employment history, where you've lived. And if they talk to a law enforcement officer, a neighbor, the local precinct, your academic institutions, and there is that pattern of inconsistency, it calls into question your values and your trustworthiness, because there's data that proves that if you are defaulting on a fiscal basis, that inability to meet your obligations, or an employment problem that resulted in an investigation, that you are prone for not only delivering not accurate results, but you could be compromised for people to pay you off, to have fraudulent behavior. So there's a connection between adverse patterns like that and what a lot of people find is that they've invested in college, they've invested in this long career, they get to the point in their career where they need a clearance and they can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. They can't rewind that back. Yes, and the international contacts, this is, they want to know who you're connected with. Do you have family? Do you have friends overseas? Have you taken money from overseas? Have you taken, if you're doing anything that you would not be proud to have on the front page of a newspaper, that can be called into question. And I work with lots of veterans, a lot of the world's best technical talent that can't have access to opportunities because of something they did 10 years ago, and they wish they had this kind of conversation. So when you're working with something like the Department of Defense, it's not only your technical capability, but it is a track record of consistent reliability and behavior that points to someone that is trustworthy. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There's, a lot of excitement in the Department of Defense, and with the advancement and investment in AI, cyber for good and cyber for not so good. There is a full court press to find talent like you. So if you can, so it's just a very tangible outcome to not managing your brand now. Like now is the time, not 10 years from now. And some investigations, depending on the level of your clearance, they go back even further. And the threshold or the appetite for inconsistency is even less. So especially with the path that you're on, the likelihood that there's going to be attention and rigor in this area is very likely.
Yeah, you have to be very mindful, very careful, and knowing exactly who you're talking to, what you're doing, and also knowing where your lines lie for different situations. Looking at our time here, I don't know if we have a whole lot of time left. I think we have about time for maybe one more or a couple of questions here. I know, Lance, I think I caught you taking a peek at the chat there and kind of looking over some of the questions. Anything that caught your eye there that was particularly interesting?
I noticed a lot of good questions about bug bounty programs, point of concept work, exploit work, and things like that. So one of the things I would recommend is there are entire bug bounty programs. They're basically third-party vendors where if you find a bug or believe you found a bug in a website, code, whatever, you can reach out to this third-party bug bounty program, and they will walk you through the process of how to report it. They will engage the company that you believe you identified the issue with. They walk you through the process, and they make sure that it's very ethically involved. And quite often, there's a big bug bounty payment involved also. So if you have questions about the best way to do bug bounties, I recommend some of those well-known bug bounty programs because that's why they exist. How to report to include proof of concept ethically. Then the only reason that's a big deal is when I started 20, 30 years ago, how people would report a bug is they post the exploit code at the public. And they did it because it created a real big name for themselves, but it also really destroyed their brand because it was just massively damaging other companies.
And I just am, it'll probably come out in the scenarios that we work on, but don't let the takeaway be that you should be so frightened that you're immobilized. you know, and you're not alone. So you'll see in the scenarios, the right answer or the ideal answer is based on the situation. So you could have the same behavior in two different situations, and one be the optimal answer and the other one not so much. And so if you could get into the cadence of, or the habit of thinking about, okay, what is the situation I'm in? What am I contracted to do? What's the scope? What are the in and outs? If you're fuzzy and it's a high pressure task, perfect indicator that you should be asking enough questions so that you understand the guardrails. And that's a great habit to get into, because it not only allows you to be more confident in what you're doing and less friction in what it takes for you to use your amazing gift that you have, but it also provides the organization or the team an opportunity to clarify. And if there's a hiccup because there wasn't clarity, then it's a different pattern than if you were just to go in blind, assuming and not being responsible.
So in short, it's kind of finding those, left and right bounds, and then assessing as you go, and, finding people to discuss with, like, hey, this is where this lies. Man, I think that also gets us back to, what the discussion looks like in fixing a failure. When you have a lapse in judgment, when you do something and you need to recognize, hey, I messed this up. And I know we talked about this a little bit earlier with the incredible quote that I can't even, I have it right here. Good grief. Own it, repair it, and change your patterns, which was an outstanding quote. Is there anything else that we want to add on to that concept to kind of round out the quick and dirty discussion that we have here?
I mean, I think speed matters more than perfection. A fast acknowledgement signals maturity, accountability, and trustworthiness. When you get feedback, it's a gift, like any athlete that has a coach. Sometimes getting critical feedback to help fine-tune or improve performance. Sometimes for folks that really take pride in what they do, it could sting a little, or feedback seem critical, but really feedback is an investment in you and your performance and your overall understanding of what performance expectations look like that lead to better outcomes. So that would be just something that I add on to that.
Love it. Lance, anything to add on to that, or I know we have so many questions to go through. I feel like we could be here for hours.
I'm actually focused on the chat right now. I'm answering questions right there. So I missed what you said. I'm focusing on the chats.
No, you're so good. We greatly appreciate it. It's impossible to keep up with.
Like we said, we don't want to scare you off of talking from people. Talk to as many people as you can. That's the only way to learn. It's at some point you begin to see you'll begin to learn what everybody's values are. And over time, that will help you determine who you trust and who you don't trust. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, I don't trust you. I saw you talking to so-and-so." It's really more through your actions.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lance. Often people it'll be the absence of an invite back, or, it'll be evidence of the absence of trust that'll come back in a variety of ways.
I mean, if you know somebody's a really sketchy arms dealer for Russia, when you may not want to go and have a beer with them, but in general, yeah.
Not great.
Yeah, I've actually been in that situation before. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to pass on this one.
Oh, yeah, we do actually want to touch on this from Jess too, is talking about the consent, impact, and ownership when it comes to the ethics and morals discussion here. specifically laying out like what the questions you should be asking yourself are, and talking about like what the importance is here. Starting with consent, do I have clear permission from the owner? We kind of touched on that a little bit too. It goes back to finding those left and right bounds a little bit with if it said impact, causing harm if it goes wrong, and something we encounter in a day-to-day experience, especially I coming from a red team experience. Bad things could happen. I look back to my experience with competitions in CPTC, collegiate penetration testing. And there was a year where we had an industrial control system that we were pen testing against, and inadvertently destroyed the system and injured people along the way. And things just happened that way, and it was something we didn't think about, and it was a lesson learned. And then ownership is, can you be accountable for something if you're attached for it? And that in that situation specifically, we kind of had to be, because it was our team doing that. But I don't know if you guys have specific examples or experiences that you've lived along those same lines that kind of fall into those buckets of establishing that consent, impact, and ownership. I don't know. It's a loaded question there too, I feel like. If not too, we can also look at chat, and I know we have a lot more questions piling in.
Yes, I'm focused on the chat. I mean, you guys are asking
You're
a lot
so
of
good.
really good questions.
Yeah.
They are really good.
So yeah, Nathan, if there are Brad, if there's any certain question you want us to zero in on, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of follow Jess's lead on this. We do have breakout rooms to get to as well. So just from a timing perspective, I'll defer to you, Jess.
No, I think this is good. I've been following the chat. Some great questions there. Clearances will definitely dive deeper in. It looks like we might want to do a dive deep on ethically sharing bug and vulnerabilities with companies. That might be another great session. I do want to move into breakouts because it gives you guys an opportunity. There's only 15 minutes for the breakout, so it's just a quick little thing, and then we get back together. If there are other deep dives that you guys want on this topic of ethics, do put them in the chat, and so we can take that into consideration, particularly in the last couple of weeks of the pipeline. So I know I have clearances and I have ethical sharing of bugs and vulnerabilities. This has been fantastic, a wonderful session so far. Now it's time for everybody to engage.
Cool.
Did you want to set it up?
Yeah. And before we jump into breakouts, we're just going to kind of give you a quick overview of the 5 different scenarios that we have prepared for you. So I will, once we get through all 5, I will open the breakouts and we will give you your choice. Considering there are about 44 folks in the room, hoping all coaches, all mentors, all athletes participate in these. We'll jump into one of those, try to keep it around like 10 or fewer people in each one. So scenario 1, this group will be with me. It's called Just One More Flag. It is a scenario kind of based on some gray area in rules of engagement in a setting that is likely quite familiar to you all, and that is a capture the flag. And so we will kind of be discussing how we approach that when the pressure is on. Some pretty high stakes prizes are on the line, and we will be in breakout room number 1. Jess.
So number 2, you're with me. It is titled The Favor. You are a junior security analyst tasked with a penetration testing project for your major internal system. The deadline is tight and you need a skill set you do not have, but you know somebody on another team that you play with that has this skill. So, what do you do? We'll talk a little bit about that and kind of the ethical dilemma of having access to skills, but should you really be utilizing them on professional work?
And yes, and I'll be in scenario 3, which I love calling the internal ticket. And the scenario is that you are in the middle of your first internship. come to impress. You come in with the extraordinary skills that you have, with a history of delivering under pressure, and posting results. And now you're sitting as an intern in a work environment where you're handling the small things. And companies are looking at how you handle the small things to understand how you would handle the big things. And lo and behold, you come across something that is major, something that you know you can go get additional data on, and that it seems like something that's really important, but it's not in your remit. So what do you do with your competitor and warrior heart? Do you power on and get to the bottom of what you think is a security issue? Or do you stay within the lines, or is it someplace in between? So that'll be our discussion in scenario 3.
Oh, this one's mine. Scenario 4 is picking your team. So this is going to come from the perspective of being involved with the U.S. Cyber Game, U.S. Cyber Team, picking out who's going to be on your CTF team. You're going to try and build out different teams that are perfectly balanced, or going to attempt to. But there's a lot of considerations that go into something like that. It's not only your skills, it's who has the teamwork ability, as it were. And there's some other factors that come up when you start to consider this, and there's not necessarily a right answer per se. However, there's a discussion about everybody's different approach and maybe some empathy within there. But yeah, it does that, and we're going to be in breakout room 4, I believe, if I can count correctly.
And real quick, about the counter room, breakout room number 5. So the situation is the world is experiencing the worst worm ever. It self-propagates using 3 different exploits. We've never seen anything so bad. Currently, 15 to 20 million computers globally are infected. You have discovered there is a vulnerability, an exploit in the worm. You have the capability to hack into any infected computer around the world, turn the worm off, and clean the computer. You even create your own worm that will spread and clean the entire internet with the click of a button. What do you do? And by the way, this is not a hypothetical scenario. This really happens.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, folks, as you find your way into the breakout rooms, I will be opening them here now. When you get in there, you will be working with one of us as facilitators, and we will ask you each to kind of identify a bit of a scribe for this exercise. I have 24 minutes after the hour, so let's all come back into the main room at 40 minutes after the hour. And I am opening the rooms.
Hey, Brad, do we just join any breakout room? Did you specify how we choose?
You should be able to choose your own. It's kind of up to preference. If there's more than 10 or so in a breakout room, try to pick a different one. But if you open the bar, it's like 9 little dots in the bottom right of your screen, meeting tools. You should see breakout rooms there. And if you scroll down, you should be able to join them. Is that the case for you all?
Yes.
No, it says unavailable.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Then you're all gonna get random rooms. That is the fastest way to do it. And I will stay here to make sure that all the facilitators are in the right room.
Is it random rooms or? Yeah.
It is random rooms. It should now be giving you the option to join your room. Compliance.
Can you assign me to the right room?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I just threw Lance in his. Jess, there you go. Save this. Make sure. This. That.
Brad, you didn't need me to go into a breakout, did you?
You're certainly welcome to. Do you want to stay back here? I'm
It
gonna
doesn't
jump
matter.
into mine.
Yeah, I was just hanging out here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Boy. Stand by. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Did you have a room you wanted to be put into?
I guess we'll say the internal ticket.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can move you. Rooms. I can do that. I will move you down there. Stand by. If I can actually make this work. Oh, no. There we go. Okay. Dave. Did you get an invite for it? There we go. Okay. Josh, did you want to get dropped into a room?
I was just talking to Brad. I don't know which room he threw me into. I think he
You're
has
just in the
just one more
main
flag.
call at the moment.
Okay, I'll drop in there.
Here, I
I've
can.
been invited to a room.
Oh, okay. That's easy then. Okay.
I'll just jump over there. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Welcome back. What happened? Did you drop?
Yes, he did.
Here, I can put you back down in the internal.
It's like when it goes to the other, it says having problems. Sorry. It was a problem with joining you to the breakout room.
Weird. Okay. You mind if I put you in a different one just for testing?
That's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in with Brad here. Stand by. Saving. Hopefully that works, please.
All right, I'm gonna join the breakout room now.
Hello. Oh, you're here. I think I think they're still wrapping up in a couple other.
Yeah, Nathan, I think you cut out for me a little bit. I was gonna shut it down just in about 90 seconds.
Yeah, they're just wrapping up, I think, for the most part.
Cool.
I'll go double check though.
Okay, thank you. All right, y'all, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Right, it looks like folks are finding their way back. And Lance, I owe you an apology. I didn't realize nobody got randomly placed into your breakout.
Oh, no worries.
Let's see. Cool. I think it was Jess. All right, to kind of bring us home, let's go ahead and move into our final kind of debrief and summaries of the various scenarios. We will start with my group, and I think Caleb was interested in kind of sharing some of what we talked about.
Yeah, so we didn't come to like a equal decision on this. We were kind of split on between, do we just report it and do nothing, like just report it and wait, or just submit it and report it at the same time?
Yep, great. And there was some talk about whether this was just an unintended, and if so, how do we handle that kind of a situation? Scenario 2, Jess.
I'll let Dylan take this one.
Sweet.
Right. Well, more towards the end, we had more or less a question regarding competition and likely unauthorized help as well. We closed that one out from my end, saying something about acceptable use policy, maybe time for or unauthorized help. We also talked more about what else would be considered early on before that, like regarding legality, what tools are possibly built. We also dived into an added or some saying about regardless of whether if you're under the age of X and you break a law, who's responsible? In this case, if you're under the age of 18, it could possibly be you and your parents or your team that's also liable. Hold on.
I think the point there, Dylan, was it was just a scenario. I was doing a simple mirroring of the discussion of the team around this favor who is accountable if the decision was made to go against the rules here. And immediately the team was like, well, you are because you made that decision. And so we're like, in this case, the company is, right? because the company is liable in many cases, particularly when you're doing a pen test or something for a client. So I made the scenario of, you remember the old saying, if you break the law under 16, your parents actually go to jail.
Yes.
It's similar, right? And that it really is the company. You'll have ramifications, but the company is responsible, so you need to do right by the company. What else did we talk about, Dylan? It was a great.
Yeah, so we also talked about more or less about internal systems, giving outsiders access that you wouldn't that you shouldn't generally have access, but in this case, you're considering giving them access. That's more or less a no-no for most organizations. That would also dive into shoulder surfing, as we talked about, which would allow outsiders to gain access to unauthorized areas, potentially overhearing conversations, I believe, as the brief conversation that you and I believe Trey were having. And then that also dove further into insider threats, which insider threats, specifically in the Department of Defense and such, are also bigger deals, along with finance as well. It's just systems that others generally shouldn't have access to. Maybe it could also possibly deal with activity during certain time frames that should otherwise be restricted or low activity. And then we also talked more about Cyber Patriot CTF, about maybe other teams, like they have skill sets you have, but would you go to them and if you ask them to do something, like give you advice, who's responsible for it if it goes south? And that would be the team as a whole, because you chose to ultimately accept that advice.
Awesome. Fantastic. Jess, anything to add to your breakout room? It sounded like Dylan crushed that.
No, the group was great. We actually explored it from a 3-letter agency, from a small business, and then we flipped it and said, what if you're doing gaming at work and you wanted to get, some of your fellow employees to help you out with the contest? What are the ramifications? So we had a really good discussion.
Cool. Dr. Burton.
Oh, you're
Oh, sorry. I was trying to say my team is going to debrief.
Cool.
Yeah. So, hi. So we kind of went for, actually, Brad, do you have the options, like the paths that you can choose in your slides? Or was that just
not in my slides, but in a different document? Yeah, I can share.
Or
This?
I don't know. Well, yeah, that's the more. I can pop it up. Did you want all of the paths, or was there a particular path?
the second path, please?
The second path, sure. Two. Let me share. Let me know.
For a little context. When we began our breakout session, I gave an example of how this specific scenario was a little close to home for me, because I at a previous internship had a very similar scenario. Now, I ended up doing the path 2 in real life, so I kind of was a little lucky with that. But we broke down what the different paths entailed. There was a question about what was the question? It was, would this still be applicable during a time-sensitive vulnerability disclosure? And I believe, I cannot remember what that gentleman's name was, but a couple other participants chimed in and said, hey, I feel that it's even more important to follow path 2 during something that's time-sensitive, because any disclosure process or any reporting will be looked at even more deeply. So we pretty much were in consensus about going with path 2.
Fantastic. Excellent. And I know, Nathan, I think you also were without, but Lance, you mentioned that yours came with a story.
So yeah, we ended up not having a room. Nobody joined the room. The
That was my
scenario
fault.
I
really
described.
apologize.
Yeah, what's that?
That was totally my fault. I really apologize.
Oh, no, no, no. No worries. Breakout rooms get a little sketchy. No, the scenario I described was Conficker, 2008. It was just wiping out systems left and right, industries. And what made it so deadly is it spread via 3 different mechanisms: vulnerability exploit, password brute forcing, and infected USB drives, which meant it hit critical infrastructure. And a group of 2 developers based out of Germany realized when the systems were infected, Conficker had a vulnerability which could be remotely exploited and then take over the system, fix the system, and clean the system. So they literally built a worm that could go out into the entire world, find all 15, 20 million infected systems, and fix them. But the problem was, if you look at the checklist 1 and 2, did they have consent? No. 2, could it backfire on them? Absolutely. Because you can't do a test case scenario on every system infected with Conficker. Remember, this is hospitals, utilities, manufacturing. So if they went in there and it backfired, it would have caused a lot of issues. Don't forget, Conficker was probably one of the most successful worms ever, but we don't know who created it or why. It had no payload. We think it was a prototype that escaped. So what's interesting is the 2 developers are like, hey, we can fix the world. Do we release it? And they ended up not releasing it because of guidance from the FBI. The FBI, I was on the call, was literally like, look, we can't have you releasing this. You could take down the entire internet. And if they had released it, they may have saved a lot of people and they would have developed a name for themselves. They developed something nobody else knew about. But they worked with law enforcement, did the right thing, and went off to found this little company with George Kurtz called CrowdStrike. So once again, if you do the right thing in the long term, it's almost always going to help that credibility, which helps those opportunities.
Yeah. Looks like Demetrios has his hand up. Go ahead.
I was going to say that this scenario also reminded me of the CrowdStrike outage, just because in this scenario, they decided not to release that, whereas for the CrowdStrike outage, they said, all right, this is more important that people aren't getting infected. These detections are going through, and then shot it through without proper testing. So
what was great about how George handled that CrowdStrike issue is, and this is a great ethics example, people don't judge you when something bad happens. They judge you on how you handle it. So keep that in mind.
I think that's a phenomenal piece of advice. It kind of brings us home, folks. I would love to just kind of go around the horn one time. Dr. Burton, Lance, and Nathan, just some kind of closing thoughts, just wrapping us up and sending us home.
Sure.
Maybe Dr. Burton.
Sure. So people will remember people will remember the stories of the choices that you've made. The rules are fuzzy, the pressure's real, your edge is not one more flag or one clever workaround, it's choosing to move, the power move that is really about and demonstrates that you're protecting people, you're respecting authorization, and you're really taking care of your long-term reputation. And this is one of those areas where will be times when it's difficult to navigate. And just remember, you're not supposed to do this alone. You're not supposed to handle hard situations alone. So inside most organizations, you have teammates and managers and mentors you can ask. You have experts around security and privacy and compliance. You have people that help you having the difficult conversations like HR, employee assistance. You have formal channels, code of conduct, ethics, anonymous hotlines, chock full of resources. So when you do find yourself in these sticky situations and you feel compelled to get it right, remember, getting it right doesn't mean you have to go it alone.
I love that. Such wonderful advice. Absolutely brilliant tonight. Thank you so much, Dr. Burton. Really appreciate everything that you've shared with us. Lance, over to you.
Just real quick, folks, really proud of everything you've done. Please keep it up. And really, long term, your reputation is going to determine your success. In the short term, your skills are going to open up doors. But as time progresses, you're going to be at the same level with other people. No matter how good you are, there's others just as good, which is great. You can learn from them. But at long term, what's going to set you apart is that reputation.
So true. So true. And certainly something that we hope you all will walk away with tonight is that long-term reputation piece and how important that's going to be throughout the rest of your lives. Lance, thank you so much. Really, truly appreciate the time that you've spent kind of helping us put all of this together and bringing your ideas and experience, from the trenches. Really, really, really good stuff. Nathan, any final words from you?
Yeah, just quick and dirty is, do what we've done tonight. Have these discussions with your peers, with your mentors, with everybody around you. Even if it's not the specific ethics questions, it's the spitballing ideas, discussing the, kind of the frameworks that we have, the left and right boundaries, just so you know who you can go to, how they'll respond, and then you get comfortable with these conversations because they're not easy and you can't go it alone. And it's also about that long-term network. So, connect all the pieces and build yourself up for the future in the best way you can.
I absolutely love it. Thank you, Nathan, for your perspective. I know, it's one of the things that we were really looking forward to from you. Wonderful job moderating tonight. I really thought the conversation was dynamic. It was relevant. Absolutely fantastic. So thank you for supporting us in that way. Jess, any final comments?
No, huge thank you, round of applause to everybody, speakers, especially moderator. It was wonderful. Sorry about the glitch with the breakout rooms, but I'm glad we got to talk about the counterwarm here. I would love to have you guys back. I hope that you all had fun tonight. And I just want to call out to our coaches and mentors that made it to this evening as well. Thank you guys. And that's all I have.
Absolutely. Fantastic. One final massive round of applause for Dr. Burton, for Lance, and for Nathan. Really, truly appreciate everything that you contributed to our program tonight. I know we'll be better off for it and look forward to continuing to work with you all. Folks, I will post a recording of tonight's session to Canvas for those of you that are interested in watching it. A couple of other just quick notes. We are still looking for another 1 or 2, likely maybe 3 athletes from the pipeline program that might want to compete on a pipeline program team at Wicked 6. I know 4 of you have already raised your hand to compete at that attack and defense tournament. There are 2 additional practice sessions coming up, one in February and one in March, before the final competition is March 29th. And then also, a lot of great feedback tonight, a lot of great questions, a lot of wonderful engagement. Really, truly appreciate all of you for showing up and staying engaged throughout tonight's session. Heard you loud and clear in terms of the clearances and in terms of the responsible reporting of bugs and other CVEs and things of that nature. So I know Atet is on the line tonight. He is one of our coaches and mentors that's going to help me pull together the careers and leadership rotation at the end, where we'll bring in guest speakers to really dive in on topics that you're interested in. So we'll note those and start to pull that together as well. Next week, we do start our technical rotations. So we're kicking off next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, rather. That is with Webb on the 27th. Moving forward, all of your live engagements will be Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern or 5:30 p.m. Pacific. So you can go ahead and bookmark those if you haven't already. Make sure you're joining Canvas. If you haven't already, those emails have gone out to invite you there. And keep your eyes on Discord for continued updates and announcements and things of that nature. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good night, y'all.
Best of luck, folks. Keep it up.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for hosting.